Hey all, Board Game Rants here where you'll find everything solo tabletop gaming and more. Like this, Black Sonata. Black Sonata. Quick overview coming up and my thoughts afterwards. Here we go. Black Sonata. So a good thing about this game is you don't need to know anything about Shakespeare to play it, because I don't know anything about Shakespeare. But apparently there was this Black Sonata that Shakespeare did, and in it is a dark lady. Nobody knows who the dark lady is, so that's the whole point of this game. Is we're going to represent a character in London, and we just get to pick a random spot here. Let's pick St. Paul's, and we're going to be searching for clues to uncover the identity of the dark lady. The dark lady is represented by this card right here, and another clue card, very important for us to find, is right here, and we'll flip this over and it's going to give us some good clues on who the identity of our dark lady is after we've visited all these areas in London. So as we move our pawn around, and we got to follow the little lines when we do that, we get a card each time we move to a different town. These little symbols on the towns are help us figure out where the dark lady is, so that we can search for clues. We have to actually land on a spot where we think she is and be successful with that search in order to discover any clues. And the way that is figured out is with this deck. We're going to take this deck and we're going to be cycling through it, and you can only cycle through it so many times, 3 times. And if you haven't discovered the identity of the dark lady in that time, you lose. These are fog cards. As you're searching for her, she realizes, oh, they're on to me, and she gets harder and harder. So you're going to be taking these fog cards and replacing them with cards in this deck. And as you're cycling through, it's going to get harder and harder to track her down, because the way her movement works in this game is pretty clever. You'll take this deck, and right now it shows a house symbol. So you look at all these symbols here and you look for house symbols. So that's telling us she is somewhere either in Bishopsgate, or perhaps Liberty of the Clink, or perhaps Blackfriars, or perhaps Cripplegate. And you have these tokens that you can use to help you kind of zero in and remember where she could be, because then she's going to move. And the way the movement works is you're going to take, and you'll have this in this little deck in your hand, and you kind of cycle through it. You always keep it in your hand, you cycle through it. So this ends up going to the bottom of the deck. And now we see that she's moved to a town that has a church, let's say. So that could be right where I'm at. From here, you just look, and she only moves 1 space in the normal game. You can play it more difficult where it's more complicated. But for general purposes, the normal game, she moves 1 space away from where she was. So if she was on a space with a house, now she's either in Clerkenwell from here, or she's in St. Paul's, or she didn't go down to Liberty of the Clink, because there is no little church symbol there. So we can say, you'd use these pawns again, she could be there. From here, she could have, again, moved either to Clerkenwell, not to Shoreditch, but she could be at St. Paul's. She could have moved right to me. And then let's look at this one first. So from here to a church could be in Southwark. Now here, so part of the deduction is knowing that she has to move at least 1 space. Well, she wouldn't stay on Bishopsgate, I guess is what I'm getting at. She would move 1 space. Well, none of these 1 spaces has a church. So we know that she is now either here or here or here. There's a 33% chance that I could do a search and be successful. When you do a search, what you end up doing is taking the card and replacing it with a fog card. And then you would take that card and you'll match it over where you're at. And I'm at St. Paul, so I take this card and I put it over here. This is one of the funner things. Now you'll notice too, right here, you see this little punch hole? What we're hoping for is when I put this over this card, we're going to flip it over and see if something shows through that punch hole, a silhouette of the dark lady. If it shows a silhouette of the dark lady, we have found her, and we can look for a clue. We can uncover a clue. If there's no silhouette, then we haven't found her, and it means she's either here or here. Which, again, as we go through this deck, will help us zero in where she could or is not. So we'll take this. We're saying we did a search action. We flip this over. We've got to match them up. And, no silhouette in there. And you'll notice now if I take this off, you can see, her silhouette was down there. So if I had searched successfully, that silhouette would have shown through about like so, and we would have realized, we found her, and we would have searched for a clue. But as it is, she was not here. And now we know she's either in Clerkenwell or Southwark. And each turn you can either search or move a space, and so you can kind of try and zero in on where you think she's going to end up going, and you'll discover these clues. These clues are right here. What you'll do is when you reveal a clue, you take one, and you're trying to discover the 3 traits that make up the Dark Lady. And over here, this is, so you look at the suit that our Dark Lady is. In this case, it's this leaf suit. So over here, this is saying that the Dark Lady here represents, these 3 traits represent either 0 or 2 of her traits, exactly. And so she is either married or has kids or likes to write stuff. I don't know the ink. Well, these have a little bit of a meaning to them in the manual. You can figure out, so it's a little more thematic. But for purposes of the game, you're just trying to figure out what 3 traits make up this Dark Lady. And then when you figure those out, you'll use these things and you'll put them here, and you'll be like, yes, I think she is. For instance, to make sure, looking at this card, we know that she's either 0 or 2 of these traits. So she could be a ring, and she could be, she could have a baby. There we go, baby rattle. And that holds true for this clue. And now, but then you're going to go through, you're going to find other clues, and you'll have another clue to work with. And now you got to make sure that they still all, that the traits still match up, because this one's saying that for the leaf suit, exactly 2 of these traits make up this card. So now we have to look at these. Okay, we're like, okay, we thought these were them. Does that still hold true? Okay, well, exactly 2 of these. Well, I see we got the baby cell, but and this could still be it, as long as, maybe there's a chain here. But if that's the case, does that now it could be these 3 traits? Maybe we found her, because we've got this card that says exactly 2 of these traits. So we got baby rattle and the little chain thing, and no ring. So that works. And then up here, do these 3 traits, does this guess work for here? Well, we've got the ring and we got baby rattle, but no inkwell. So that could be, this could be Our Lady. And then we're going to keep getting clues, and you'll just have to test your deduction against each clue card. This one's saying that exactly 0 or 2 of these traits match up to our Dark Lady. And eventually you'll get through, you'll hopefully pin her down and discover her, and you'll flip this over and you'll see that it's a card just like these other ones. And then you'll look and you'll be like, dang it. Well, I knew she was this, but no, she was also, I forget what this means. She was promiscuous or something like that. And so we only actually got 1 of the 3 right using these 3 clues. Now, I wasn't really using those 3. You got to look at them and you got to really think about it to be able to figure out and deduce it. But that's the game in a nutshell. Black Sonata. It's a fantastic game. I passed it up from forever ago. I mean, it's a solitaire game, toted as a solitaire game, but it could be played cooperatively. And that was actually the very first way I played it, was with my wife. She's really good at that deduction part, getting enough clues and trying to mix and match the traits so that it's true for each card, so that you can actually zero in and get the 3 traits that make up your Dark Lady. You have to get a certain number of clues. I think we ended up, when I played with her, it's the only time I've won. I think we ended up with 5 or 6 clues, and we nailed it down. But that's kind of the most time-consuming part, is just trying to just sit there and, okay, this matches up with that, but doesn't match up with this. But if this is true, then this can't be true, and this can. And that's just fun. But it's not. You can't just sit there and play each game and just until you get enough clues, and then you're gonna, if you get enough clues, you should be able to figure it out, right? You should be able to. But the timer's a ticking, because you can only go through that deck 3 times. And each time you discover a clue, you actually, say you've discovered your 4th clue. Now you actually have to take 4 cards from the top of that deck and cycle it to the bottom, and then you get to take your next turn. And then say you find a 5th clue. Now you have to take 5 cards, cycle to the bottom of that deck, and then you keep going. So you start burning through that deck fast, the more clues you have. And then you have those fog cards that are replacing, and those fog cards make it more difficult to track her down. So there's this big buildup as you get near the end of the game, and you think you've found her, you think you've got enough traits, but now you actually have to track her down in London and do a successful search action just to be able to reveal her and see if you got it right. So it has a delicious like intensity to it. Really, there's an anxiety there that I love, and it's just for the game. The manual that it comes with is very small. I mean, a big portion of it is just building that, what's called the stealth deck. That's the deck that you cycle through, and it shows you the locations of where she's at, and then where she moves to, and where she moves to again, and where she moves to again. That it's very clever. It comes with, I think, 30 of those stealth cards, and you build the deck. You use the alphabet in, it's not going to make any too much sense, but use the alphabet, and you have to put the cards in order from A to Z. Very generally, and you can go from Z to A, and then, but on each card, there's like 8 different ways to build that A to Z deck. You just have to like pick a certain location of a letter, and like say the top right corner is the letters you're going to use in the sequence, and now you have to use in the top right corner, you have to find the one card that has an A in the top right corner, find the card that has a B in the top right corner, and stack them up all the way A to Z. And that gives you your deck, and then you cut it, and then, so that's how you build the deck, which is a little time consuming. And, but the game itself plays in about a half hour, and you could sit there and ponder over your clues for a while. As you're playing the game part is pretty quick. You're like, okay, she could be here, here, here. I'm going to move there. Now let's see where she went. You flip that card. Okay, well, now she could be here, here, here. Okay, I'm going to stay put and see if she comes to me. So each turn, and then finally, oh, I think I found her. You do your search action. And the only thing I didn't talk about is the fog cards. Actually, if you get around to cycle through the deck one time, and now you have some fog cards in there because you've done some search actions, then you can take that fog card action, you flip it over and see, you have to do it, and if you can't do it, you lose. So there's that little element that you didn't even get to see in there. And so thematically wise, this game, that was one thing that kind of just turned me off about it. I was a black, I don't know anything, I don't really care about Shakespeare. I'm sorry, I just don't. I think would have been a cool theme would be, and maybe, it's an idea. I mean, you could dress it up however you want, but what about Gloomhaven? Make your characters Gloomhaven characters, and have 3 traits for each character, and you could totally build this around Gloomhaven, and then you're trudging around Gloomhaven looking to try and figure out who your character is or something. So I don't know. I would have, because I love Gloomhaven. A lot of people love Gloomhaven, and you could do that with this game. And I don't know. Thematically, then it would be irresistible because the mechanics are super crunchy. There's a lot there that I've just not experienced much. A deduction game that you can play by yourself. Word of that. That's I've not seen anything like that before, and it's here. And then the way you do the search action, you have the little silhouette that you hope pops out of that little punch hole in the card. How clever is that? I mean, making this game is kind of a genius design in itself. I can't even wrap my head around. And then you get all the clue cards, and there's only 3 traits on each one. Well, there's a total of 7 traits. And then, but just trying to get all the Dark Lady cards to make sense and not have any errors in there, it's beyond anything I can comprehend, and it's still such a tight little game. The mechanics are very sharp, and it's very easy to learn, and then it's very easy to start playing, and then and it all just fits together and very snugly. So the variability is incredible, because not only can you build that A to Z or Z to A in 8 different ways, but then in the back of the manual, it gives you a whole nother slew of things that you can do to make the game harder or easier. You can remove some suits from the clue cards. There's all sorts of ways to make it easier or harder. So the variability is just incredible. And so yeah, don't worry about like, oh, well, eventually you could remember, all the patterns. No, you couldn't. I mean, I guess if you played the same one over and over and over and over again, kid, but you wouldn't really do that. So the length of play, I think going over is about, it's about 30 minutes. Yeah, you can blast through a game of this, and it's just, It's got all the stuff you'd look for in a game that could last an hour and a half, or at least an hour, and it's all in there. You know, usually the shorter the game, the more elements of what I enjoy in a game are missing, and you just kind of sacrifice that for the time that the game takes. Oh, I played in 15 minutes, so of course it's not going to have all this crazy stuff that I like to be included in a game experience. But this one has it all in that half-hour period. Incredible. Solo, it's again, you can play it solo, but you could have a couple people hanging out with you. As long as you know how to run the game, you can have them help you with the deduction part and trying to figure out where she is, and so they can feel you can play it with your spouse or kids, whatever. And it does have a way to score too. So after you're done, you can see if you've discovered who it is successfully. Now you can go how many cards would you have left before you would have lost, because again, you can cycle through that deck 3 times, so you can kind of score by how many cards. I believe that's kind of how it works, how many cards you have left in the deck. You know, how quickly did you successfully discover her identity, and then you can score yourself. So there's a way too to see, you know, not only win but also to see how well you did. And so that I always love that about a game. There's a kind of a win-lose condition, and then it's like, oh, and I can score myself to kind of judge how well I did. That's here too. It's man, what a fantastic game. And it's free. I mean, you can print it and play it, but I know it's available retail. And and if this had a different theme to it, I'd pick it up retail. If someone puts out a retail version of this Gloomhaven, the way I was saying, I'm going to get it. You know, I'll have to have it. And so anyway, there you have it. That's Black Sonata. Thank you for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments or anything down below. Love to answer them and hear what your own thoughts are about that, as I got something in my eye and it's no longer there, but I'm not crying. You know, this was moving, this whole review. I'm boardgamerants. Thank you for watching. I'm out.